Welcome back to The Edge. Meta is cracking down on unoriginal content, and we've got a slew of AI and SEO news today. You're listening to AI SEO news from The Edge here on Edge of the Web Radio.
From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
Hey, this episode is brought to you by our title sponsor, Bruce Clay, and his new app, PreWriter.AI, the next level AI-driven content research and briefing tool. Create ultra-relevant, humanized, SEO-ready drafts customized for your audience pain points. Visit edgeofthewebradio.com/PreWriter and see how much time you can save and the ranking power that you can earn. Guess what? We're back at BrightonSEO this year. BrightonSEO US teaming up with the BrightonSEO team again, San Diego, September 23rd and 24th. Check this out. We have 15% off a friend or a training ticket to BrightonSEO for the Edge audience. Simply use the code EDGE15 on the ticket page or go to edgeofthewebradio.com/BrightonSEO. Great lineup of speakers, talks, and networking. Keynotes from Ross Simmons and Brittany Muller. Find out more at edgeofthewebradio.com/BrightonSEO. We've got a slew of news. One could say a slurry of news regarding AIO and SEO. So it's almost like a cesspool. I'd say it's a septic tank of AI SEO news. It's an inside joke for the team here at Site. We do these SME interviews with our clients, and one of our clients is a septic cleaning company, and we spent 2.5 hours interviewing our guests with so many questions, and now we can't get rid of the septic tank puns. They're everywhere. I'd say it's a crap ton of jokes, truly. I'm sorry. Hat tip to everybody who had to listen to all that. Hey, this is Edge of the Web Radio. I'm your host, Erin Sparks, owner of Site Strategics. Thanks for joining us. Really do appreciate it. We're covering SEO and digital marketing news each and every week, separate from our interviews series, so we can get you as much pertinent news as possible that you can actually move on. And we're also kind of channeling it into see, there we go. I can't get away from the puns. We're moving into different areas. So we're talking about social media news exclusively on one news segment. We're talking about AI here. We're talking about local SEO news. We just had a new show with Greg Gifford. So we're trying to be able to break it down for everything that you want to pay attention to. So check out edgeofthewebradio.com. You'll find your particular lane that you want to actually navigate with us. So check out edgeofthewebradio.com. But before anything else, I want to make sure that you know who's on the line today. We've got Crystal Carter from Wix. Crystal, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. I'm very pleased to be here. Always happy to chat to the team from Site Strategics.
Appreciate it. Do you have any septic tank jokes at all?
I mean, I don't want to dig myself a hole or anything.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you playing.
I have a completely unrehearsed theory.
Yeah.
What do you guys call septic tanks in England?
What do you call septic tanks in England?
I feel like this has a different name, but maybe I'm wrong.
They're called septic tanks.
Okay.
But I mean, in ye olde English, there's lots of oldie terms. For anybody who's not informed, I've lived in England for 20 years. My accent is the same because apparently it's just the same, but I've lived in England for ages, and yeah, SHYTE is sometimes the way it's referred to. I know a place where there's Shite Brook is what they call it, and basically there was a Roman wall and people would just throw their filth over the wall, and that place was called Shite Brook, for instance.
Oh my gosh.
So that's some
love
lovely,
to live there.
fun.
I'm gonna take that as the official answer.
We went to DC and in Philadelphia, went to Benjamin Franklin's museum there where his home was, and you could actually look at the cisterns, and the cisterns were part of that entire evacuation process of the house. So there's a term for you, and correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Really do appreciate you jumping on. And you're about to go on vacation, so we're glad to actually have you. You got 3 hours, 4 hours. You're about to check out. You're gone.
Yeah. I mean, technically 4 hours, but my heart left yesterday. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, well, we'll have whatever input you can give on the AI
Oh no,
and
I got it.
SEO
I'm here.
news.
I'm here.
All right. She's back. But first and foremost, a couple quick things in the news. We always talk about a couple moving pieces in digital marketing. Sorry. I just heard myself. From Search Engine Journal, Meta follows YouTube in the crackdown of unoriginal content. That's from Matt Southern. Meta's actually taking action against unoriginal content, cracking down on accounts that repost others' work without permission or any meaningful edits. So this was back in July 15th, but we wanted to pull this around because it was pretty important to actually see what they're doing. They're revoking monetization for accounts that repeatedly repost others' work. It actually follows YouTube's policy update targeting repetitious content and mass-produced content. Both platforms appear to be responding to the rise of content farms. So I don't know what a content farm is, but we're going to dig into this real quick. They announced this. It marks a second major platform policy update in days following YouTube's similar announcement. Meta's announcement closely follows YouTube, which clarified its stance on inauthentic content. Both platforms are addressing the growing problem of accounts profiting from reposting others' work without permission or, like I said, meaningful additions. According to Meta, accounts that repeatedly reuse somebody else's video, photos, or text posts will lose access to Facebook's monetization program and face reduced visibility across all content. They're also testing a system that adds links on duplicate videos to direct viewers to the original creator. That's actually interesting that they've got that. They can actually build that into the post itself. So you're really kind of breaking down the wake that you can have just by reposting, which is never really valuable unless you're actually making some sizable content communication about said videos or said piece of artwork or what have you. I think this is a great thing because we're trying to move towards this more authentic space of content creators, not talking about just the authenticity of ads and the entire AI challenge in ads, but if you're trying to push original content in the organic channel, and if you're not actually contributing into the message and you're trying to also make money off it, and again, it goes at scale, this is a good pushback. We want to see these tech giants give this type of challenge. Crystal, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. I think this goes to Meta's user base, or not necessarily their user base and their wide user base, but their content creator base. There are content creators who make their livings off of Instagram, for instance. And I follow lots of content creators who are on Instagram, and I literally log in to see their stuff. And you can't sell ads on Instagram if people aren't logging in because the content is terrible. And it's
Yep.
also a case, I think it's addressing an issue that we see a lot, which is, somebody publishing something, it goes viral, then there's a smaller account that is an aggregator account. So for instance, it will be a topic-led account. Like if you were into fishing or something, there would be one person who was a fishing influencer and they post their videos all the time. And then there would be another channel that just posted lots of different fishing like
Right.
things, like fishing with an F, not with a PH. And what you sometimes get is sometimes they don't tag the creator. And there's lots of people that will complain, hey, you didn't tag the creator. I love that guy. He does great content and you didn't tag him. What's that about? And then
Right.
so you end up with those issues. But I think there's also an issue that I saw flagged online recently. I can't remember where, but it was somebody who was talking about that with AI these days, there are AI videos that are being created that are verbatim reposting what a creator said. So a human creator makes a video talking about their chocolate cake or something that they made and like, oh, I made this chocolate cake, blah, 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 blah. And then there's an AI video that literally like does the same intonation. It just literally changes the pitch of the voice, puts a different avatar on the front of it, and then they post it. And so I think that this is them trying to catch up with some of the tech and some of the tech innovations that are happening, because once that hits the ground, like people will absolutely run with it. And I
Right.
think that they're trying to catch up with that so that they can make sure that there's still a creator ecosystem that will support their wider business goals. So I think that there's some good things that they're doing from a commercial point of view, but I don't think it's altruistic at all. I think they understand that there's a creator network that needs to be nourished, and that's why people come to the platform. So I think that it's a savvy move is what I would say.
That's a fantastic perspective there. Along with the article, they were talking about content farms and really focusing on AI generated slop. They said, see,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, precisely.
there's a
Precisely
theme
that
that
stuff.
we're hitting there. While enforcement rolls out, actually may not affect every creator equally. These moves, they say, indicate a shift in priorities. Original and value-added content are becoming the new standard. So it is a battle against AI because it can be machined and scaled so quickly. You're pulling away all the possible earnings of that original creator, and the platform has to defend that. Otherwise, the platform dies because at some point in time, the content creator is going to go over to another platform that doesn't have that slot, doesn't have that noise, right? So it's a
Yeah.
self-preservation mode, absolutely. Just want to have a quick digital marketing piece of news before we jump into AI and SEO news, because that's the name of the game here on this show. So first up, want to make sure that you also know who's sponsoring this show. Glad to have a new title sponsor for Edge of the Web. Hey, if you want your content to truly stand out, it's time to try PreWriter.AI from Bruce Clay. Bruce is a world-renowned SEO expert who's been serving clients for over 30 years, and he's been a guest on this show several times. His latest innovation, PreWriter, isn't just another AI tool, it's a complete content creation platform that turns your research into smart, persona-driven strategies. Imagine creating briefs that clearly map out your audience's needs and then turning those briefs into clusters of connected pages. You can provide each page with natural call to actions that solve real problems. PreWriter even localizes and humanizes your writing, helping you stay ahead of search engines and your competition. Ready for a smarter, more profitable way to build authority and drive results? Visit edgeofthewebradio.com/PreWriter. Learn about the free trial that they've got there. See for yourself how much faster and better you can write your content. Go over to edgeofthewebradio.com/PreWriter. All right, AI news. Let's jump into it. On the docket, we've got OpenAI and Perplexity is set to battle Google for browser dominance. All right, so this is over from Search Engine Journal. Roger Monti chimes in there just when it seems that the browser wars are over. He says OpenAI and Perplexity announce plans to challenge Google's Chrome. Now, we also been tracking the DOJ decisions on the separation of Chrome from Alphabet, right? But there are credible rumors, Roger says, that are circulating about OpenAI developing a browser. However, the timing of this anonymous tip is curious because Perplexity coincidentally just announced they're releasing a browser named Comet. It's a long-standing tradition, he says, in Silicon Valley for competitors to be able to try to overshadow each other's announcements. We also saw that same OpenAI and Google I/O last year. That was kind of interesting. But in this regard, these rumors actually seem a little bit more meaty. OpenAI leaked rumors of their own competing search engine at the exact same time. Like I said, Google officially announced Gemini in February 15th, 2024. That's what I'm talking about. But here's the rumor. OpenAI is close to releasing an AI-powered web browser that will challenge Alphabet's Google Chrome. 3 people familiar with the project actually told Reuters the browser is slated to launch in a few weeks, 3 of the people said, and aims to use artificial intelligence to fundamentally change how consumers browse the web. So we're going to be talking about ChatGPT Agent at the end of this show because there is a tie-in here. But what do you guys think about an AI-powered browser, either Perplexity or OpenAI? We're using tools more and more that are kind of personal concierge AI platforms here. How about an entire browser that can actually support your interaction and your particular predilections on how you surf the web? What do you think?
Yeah, I think as a user, I think users are going to be really interested in it. I had a look at the Comet browser from Perplexity, and they're talking $200 a month.
No. Are you serious?
Like, so if you want to log in, you have to, you can join the wait list. And I have Perplexity Pro, I have it and I use it and it's cool. But they're if you want to jump the queue, it's $200 a month. And guy,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but no, that's
we're out.
not right now. I don't need that. I don't need it that bad. But what I will say is that so Perplexity is advertising. They're oh, bridge the gap between emails and tabs and this and that and that. And it's well, to be fair, Gemini does that as well. Gemini Pro does that already. If you have Gemini connected to Google Workspace, like it does loads of that. So I think the OpenAI move is interesting because most of ChatGPT's traffic, despite the fact that they have an app that lots of people use and lots of people have downloaded, most of their traffic is desktop. It's like
Right.
66% desktop,
Yep.
which is very different to Google's, which is like 80% mobile or something. Like it's completely the other way around. So I think that then moving into an AI browser, like I think that they will be able to move very quickly, potentially more quickly than Google, to go with an all AI browser because they don't have the legacy tech to bring with them. So
Hmm.
Google has like, a whole legacy infrastructure of like all of the search engine results and all of
Right.
the ad revenue and the ad infrastructure and Google Finance and Google Travel and like all of that stuff that's all on the web. And OpenAI doesn't have that. They can just build from scratch from the way that the web is now. So it's interesting saying that
Hmm.
Google has proven to be very adaptive during all of this. So, I think that like DeepSeek
So
is a
they've
prime
covered a lot of
example.
ground. Yeah, that's right. Keep on going.
So like DeepSeek, for instance, launched at the beginning of the year and it sort of shook things up a little bit. And they got like something like 500. I've been tracking this very closely. They got something like 500 million visits in the first sort of month or two. And Google took a bit of a hit there, but
Hmm.
Google has since surpassed them and is continuing with Gemini, is continuing to see that grow very, very quickly. And they have proven themselves to be able to just absorb whatever updates other people take, because not only do they have the chops in terms of AI building. They've had models for ages. Loads of the SEO features that we saw in the SERP have been AI powered for years. Featured snippets have
Right.
been AI powered for years, since like 2012. And not only that, but they have all of the data from Chrome and from Google for like, for the whole time of the internet. So they seem to be very, very nimble. So I think it will be interesting. I don't know that it will, tip the scale straight away. But I
Hmm.
do know that what we see in terms of user acquisition is that every time ChatGPT, every time Perplexity adds a new feature, every time Claude adds a new feature, they get more and more users and they
Right.
retain them as well. So all of these features will just move them closer to, tipping the scales in terms of AI search versus, classic search.
You're drawing a really good case here, and I'd love to know the adoption rate whenever ChatGPT or Claude add a feature, and then conversely, whenever Google adds a feature, because the enormity, it's the elephant in the room, but Google's got Chrome, at least at this point in time, right? And to be able to actually have even more AI features inside of Chrome, because we're seeing AI features in Gemini across all of our different Google Suite platforms. They're
Oh
integrating it
yeah.
everywhere, especially in the spreadsheet space. That's actually really good functionality there.
Oh man.
But it's
I don't need to
incredible.
argue with spreadsheet formulas. If you can write me my spreadsheet formula, thank you.
Absolutely. Efficiency is amazing there. But what I'm saying is the proportion of new acceptance of users with the Google Chrome's user base compared to as ChatGPT adds a new thing. And if they actually even go into a browser space, you still have probably a very highly weighted user acceptance on the Google side because of just the enormity of the user base, right? So you
Yeah.
could have a growth on ChatGPT of 3%, 4% of new users interacting with that particular functionality, but you could very well have even more user acclimation into AI-based tools inside of Google to the point of 10%, 12%. I don't know if it won't be proportional. It's always going to be weighted because of the monster in the room there. But this is an interesting factor, is that this was the area that Google dominated, that these LLMs just did not have even a piece on the board. Now they're starting to move that way. Now they're going to actually build these features around their platform for those users. And you also have that privacy factor. That's how DuckDuckGo just moves so quickly, because users are fed up with their behavior being mined for advertising dollars. You could very well siphon off a good deal of individuals into an OpenAI browser just because of that. And now you've got a personal concierge that's not piping advertising in front of you, right?
Yeah.
There
Yeah. I mean, the
there is
advertising
a
point
differentiation here. Go ahead.
The advertising point is very interesting. So I've been experimenting with Brave. I've been quite interested in Brave.
Oh yeah,
The
cool.
which is a browser, or a web browser, and they tell you how much data you've saved. So like I think it's told me that they saved me like 78 megabytes worth of data in the last little while just from blocking ads. So if
Really?
you want to read things without ads, and I do this regularly, if I get to a news item or something, and they something, they got the pop up and they've got this and they've got that, and I'm like, I can't see. I just
Hmm.
take the URL and pop it into Brave, and then you can read it clean.
And you're cleaning it.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
and
That's
basically
awesome.
it saves you tons of data. So it's not only the tracking things, but it's also the data. And in some places, like I know in South Africa, for instance, data is very, very expensive.
Hmm.
So I think that there's lots of ways that where it could potentially be more efficient, because they're not building on legacy tech. They're building from the way that the web is now. And I think a lot
Right.
of the web for years, we've been patching this and this and that and this and this. And as SEOs, we know that because we've had to
Yep.
patch it on. We've got a mobile website now. Okay, well, we've got to do that. Okay, we've got an app. Well, now we've got to connect that app to
Yep.
this tech. We've got to connect this CRM to this website. We've got to connect all of those things, and they're building from scratch. So it'll be interesting.
Hmm.
But I think the trick will be how quickly Google can adapt and basically absorb all of the updates, because I am sure
Absolutely.
that they will be watching with bated breath.
You better believe it. You better believe it. You just opened up a window of perspective there, and I'm just going to put this as a post-it note. It would be amazing to see OpenAI or Perplexity or one of these LLMs roll through a CRM as well, because we knew that Google was really eyeballing HubSpot for acquisition about a year ago, maybe 10 months ago. Just think about what a LLM that could analyze your customer's behavior, right, and prompt you for certain actions in a CRM. It could very well be an incredible sales tool.
It could be very,
Just
very
saying.
incredible. I mean, speaking of sites that have a CRM in them and AI, Wix has has AI tools
There's a good plug. Yeah,
built
absolutely.
into
Absolutely.
our website, and you can use it. We have Astra, which is a fantastic assistant, and basically it's built in, and it knows all of the stuff associated with your site. So you can say which page has the most conversions, and it will
Hmm.
give you information on that. You can say make me an event page for this new webinar that I'm doing, and it will make you an event page. And I
Ah, it's
think that
awesome.
that kind of forward thinking, integrated, built
Yeah.
in native AI tech, it's great when it's intuitive, and we're really happy with it so far.
Absolutely. Now I got to check that out. That's incredible. All right. Jumping into another article here on the AI front. Google launches AI shopping tools with virtual try-ons and smarter price alerts. And I know you're oriented towards this because you also do a lot of image search theory and analysis. Crystal, Google's rolling out this new AI-powered shopping tool designed to be able to make everything from finding the right outfit to scoring the best deal a lot easier. So you got to try it on virtually. Google's AI-powered virtual try-on tool is now live in the US. Shoppers can upload a full-length photo and see how clothes from Google's massive catalog look on them. This is actually from a new Adegbola over at Search Engine Land. The feature is integrated across search, Google Shopping, and product results on Google Images. That's what I'm talking about, is that they can move quite agilely across all of these different products. And this was first previewed at I/O this year. They've got Price Alert with precision. Google's upgraded their price tracking, and now lets U.S. shoppers set alerts for specific prices, colors, price points. The shopping graph monitors retailers across the web and notifies you when a price drop has been set that hit your particular trigger. This is interesting stuff, and if you actually see the video, it's really interesting to be able to actually have that experience right there from a shopping standpoint. What do you think about this tool in particular for community use?
I mean, I think that the closer we can get to the Clueless closet, the better. I think Clueless like recently celebrated its like 25-year anniversary. So I'm dating myself, but like that's what I've wanted since I was like a little kid. And I
Absolutely.
think that it's interesting if it works. For as somebody who returns a lot of things to the point where I only shop in person now, like I would not trust this personally, but if it's interesting if it works, particularly if people are using standard sizes. And I think that, and
Hmm.
I think that would be fine. But like for me, I would be hesitant personally. But I do think it's interesting. And yeah, I think we'll expect to see more and more. They announced a lot of updates over Google I/O, so I think we're going to see these coming quick and fast. And yeah, it will be interesting. And I think that it will probably, and speaking of image optimization, it will probably influence how people display their clothes on
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
website. And there are almost certainly going to be specific criteria for how you're eligible for these, because sometimes they have stylized images, and I
Right.
find where
Contextual stuff.
you
Yep.
you can't. Right, exactly. And people doing like fashion poses, but if people are going to need to stand in normal, like it is like just a normal straight up pose,
Right.
then that's going to be something that's going to influence the way that retailers are displaying their
Let me point something
wares.
out,
So,
Jacob. Jacob, if I can, you're absolutely right. Let me point something out. If you go to that first image of the try it on, maybe you can zoom this up a little bit for our YouTube users. I don't want to show you this particular graphic. So they have this try on, and there's not a video for the try on, but they actually show 3 different versions. One, the folding picture of this lady, right? And then you've got the intermediary creating the look, right? But I want to show the face. The picture
does
that
the
she
face
took
change?
originally, she's smiling as she's got the new clothes on, where the original picture had no smile. A little bit subtle there, but if you check that out, these are different pictures,
Yeah.
and she's actually happy with this new. This is not the same picture that she originally uploaded. There's
It
a
also
little
changes
bit.
the pose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
you're
she's
absolutely right.
originally straight up, and then she's sort of a little bit to the side there. That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Which
So
leads you to
again,
believe that they're generating an AI image in order
of you.
to, yeah, exactly.
And they're putting you in a happy face. So talk about conversion right there, right? A little bit of subtle psychology is like, hey, you put this dress on, and now you're a
So,
happy lady.
so are you saying there's a secret prompt that
Uh-huh.
it's like, put this person in this clothes and also make them happier?
Absolutely.
Makes
Make you
sense.
happy. These clothes will make you happier. I mean, like, it's not
It's
true.
the little thing.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense.
Well, you're certainly not going to have a frowny face. I don't like this one, right? But to actually manipulate that photo and just make it a little, hey, I can buy this, and I can feel free. My pose is better, right? It's much more of a fashion pose. So it's
yeah.
sorry,
I think it's really tricky though with tailoring. This is so, just to qualify my why I don't trust this,
right?
is that like you can't tell from a photo necessarily, like from one photo, and certainly not from one photo face on, like the composition of someone's frame. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it gets into the details of like how tall you are, or how much you weigh, or any of that. But there's some people that like I don't know, there's some people who are, I don't know, to get too much into it, like who are wide, like look wide, but then they're fairly
Mm-hmm.
thin on the side. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
some people who look thin, but then they're fairly round if you go like all the way around. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, yes.
and
I have
so
one
in
of each
terms
of those features. I don't have the full depth there. Go ahead.
right. But I'm just saying, like, you can't tell like from
No.
one face on photo, like what someone's full body composition is. So you could show me that picture, but that doesn't tell me that the size fits. And the size,
Right.
it really has to do with whether or not you're actually going to be able to get into this thing. And it might be that, yeah, the dress would look great on you if it fit, but like if it doesn't fit, then fundamentally like you're not going to buy it,
No.
even if
No.
it
But
like, yeah.
I think one of the coolest things that I saw recently on the Amazon front was the try it and return it, right? So whenever we were getting my kids' prom suit, right, we had a number of different things that we could actually order from Amazon, be able to try it on, see what was happening, and send back the things that weren't fitting, right? You combine this
Yeah.
type of experience along with free shipping back. Yeah, again, you have to organize that with retailers, but I mean that's at least a benefit there. You have a little bit better understanding of how it will look. But you're absolutely right; is everybody's made differently, and when it gets down to it, I never shop for clothes online. I want to be able to put it on, feel it, and jeans are one of the most important things. Is that you either have comfort or you don't, right? Anyway, maybe I'm sharing too much. Let's move on.
No, yeah, it's fine.
All right, so another article from Search Engine Land. This is from Barry Schwartz. Google Web Guide for AI Organized Search Results came out. He says this is a Search Labs experience, opt-in only now for the Web tab within Google Search. They're rolling out a new Search Labs experiment feature named Web Guide. Web Guide uses AI to organize the results on the page, grouping web links into helpful categories with added content and insights, and making it easier to discover new content. So Google explained what Web Guide is. Web Guide groups web links in helpful ways. It can take pages related to specific aspects of your query and group them into sections. That's really interesting because it's almost like you got an overlay of people also ask and grouping it into different insights, because we saw that people also ask was uniquely positioned with different intents. That first accordion of 4 or 5 questions were uniquely positioned on a pathway branching out of what your pursuit would be. And what they're doing here is possibly creating a custom environment in which you want to be able to see your content. So the 10 blue links are getting scrapped, could be very well getting scrapped into your own personal preference on how you consume your content into different categories. Am I reading too much into it, or is this where we're going here?
I think that the whole of the SERP is in beta mode right now, and I think Google's just trying everything. Personally, like, it just looks like they're trying everything and seeing what sticks, seeing what works, seeing what people like. I think as a user, personally, like, I don't like it. I think it makes the page too long. I
Mm-hmm.
think, and like, I think it breaks it down into chunks that it presupposes which things I want to look. I think it's potentially in terms of click-through rate, it's potentially an upgrade for publishers from AI mode, because you can actually see the snippet and you can see, the content being grouped together. But
Right.
as a user, you sort of got to scan through. So like the example they give is how to solo travel in Japan. And if I want to look at like restaurants, or like maybe I want to look at hotels or something, I got to scroll all the way through all the other stuff
Yeah,
to
exactly.
get to the section that I'm looking for. Whereas I think the way the SERP was organized before, like you would sort of get those different things from the different SERP features
Right.
anyway. So I think, yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I don't know that it'll stick, but yeah, we'll see.
They're also writing some AI content on top of that group of pages. So you've got little AIO generated information, and then a few. They're just repositioning AIO in the way they've been working it in the top envelope there. But I could envision the SERP turning into tiles as opposed to content on the page, literally oriented towards your intent in like expandable tiles, and be able to organize that in a particular way. We could very well see content disappearing on the SERP and just having breakout panels of information and the like. I hate the vision there, but it could very well be a mode that you may want to interact with. Anyway, that's way far reaching, but it is interesting to be able to see this mode starting to be tested, because in Search Labs, we saw SGE for a very long period of time in 2023 getting tested before it was actually rolled out, And
Yeah.
they are, everything's up for game right now on the Google SERP.
Yeah, and I think that like there's a couple of things there. So I've been mentioning about like, Google sort of taking on other things that they see around the web. And Bing does this kind of thing where they break things into topics a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, one example that I always look at is like the Paris catacombs page for Bing, and they break it
Mm-hmm.
into topics. Anyway, and they've got like the tour, the photography, the entrance, like the reviews. They're sort of, so the SERP is kind of arranged in that way as well. And I guess it's very similar to the tabs that you have on the top. So
Yeah.
like they've got, for the Paris catacombs, for instance, they've got the tours, the history, the facts, etc., and they're all on different tabs. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think that the more they're talking about personalization, you mentioned personalization,
Right.
and they're talking about bringing that to the SERP. And I think that, yeah, that's something that OpenAI has said explicitly, that within their shopping profile, for instance, they've got memory built into the architecture, meaning that like if they know that I wear a size 8 shoe, then they will, and I ask for shoes, they'll only show me shoes in size 8. like they won't show me the size 2 shoes because I can't fit them.
Right.
But they'll remember that if they know if I'm lactose intolerant, which I am, they will also show me, and I ask for a recipe for chocolate cake, they'll give me a recipe for chocolate cake that either doesn't have milk in or
Mhm.
tells me the substitute for milk, and that'll be built in. So I think that if the Google SERP changes to be iterative and be sort of, or sorry, be intuitive and
Right.
memory based in that way, that could be really interesting. So yeah.
Absolutely. Again, that whole personal concierge thing, but the real estate is really changing right now, and
Yeah.
it's concerning because we still need data. We still need to be able to see performance on these sites.
Oh man.
It's tough. It's tough, and we'll talk about this here in a quick second. I do want to throw this over to our continued sponsor of the show. InLinks is a great sponsor for the show, and they've actually rolled out something that is very interesting. It's WAIKAI. WAIKAI is what AI knows about you. It's a cool tool that they've rolled out here for about 4 months now, 5 months. Do you know what AI knows about you? Well, this tool gives you exactly a knowledge of, well, not exactly, but really close, of the different platforms and how much it understands about your brand. It's very neat. You can actually benchmark your AI presence against competitors, and it actually dives into the 5 different AI platforms, and it reveals fundamental content differences between your site, or your brand, and your competitors. You can actually see some harmful link hallucinations and be able to fix those. It's easy to be able to have this kind of fact-checking tool to tie into these LLMs and give you a reflection back of what AI actually understands about your brand. So go over to edgeofthewebradio.com/WAIKAI, WAIKAY. Check that out. It's a very interesting tool. Dixon Jones giving you some free credits to go have a look, play with it, see what you think about the reflection that AI is giving you. All right, a couple articles here to finish off our AI SEO rant. And this is what I was talking about from a click standpoint, and the SERP's always changing. Another report regarding, hey, guess what? Click traffic's down. On search engine land from Danny Goodwin, Google's AI overviews are hurting clicks. A Pew study is actually reporting. This report actually shows that users are abandoning search more often and not visiting websites because of Google AI, the Google AI overviews. This AI-generated summary that often appears in the organic search results are cutting into how users click on links to websites, according to this new Pew study of an analysis of 900 U.S. adults browsing data. By the numbers, the majority of the users, 58%, conducted at least one Google search in March that triggered an AI summary. The users clicked on a traditional result in just 8% of the searches with an AI summary, and nearly half of the 15% click rate on pages without one. Clicking on links within summaries was even rarer, actually, 1% of all visits. So click on the links within summaries. The AIO summary was less than 1%. Users were more likely to abandon browsing after visiting a page with a summary, a Google search summary, of 26%, without one, 16%. So the study's out there, and boy, has it raised a ruckus, especially from Google. But first and foremost, did you catch up with the study, Crystal? Did you see what they were rolling out there?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think it's something that everyone's kind of feeling.
Yep.
People have a feeling about it. So I think people are really interested to see more and more research about it. But I think, I think there was a little bit of it seems like Google responded about this study and things, but I don't think they're the first people to report on something like this. I'm sure I've seen other people report similar findings. So I think it's interesting that this one stuck out a bit more than others.
When we were talking prior to our show about interrogatories, and what we were talking about with how you test for AI visibility, right? The who, what, when, where. Question-based searches, who, what, why, generated AI summaries 60% of the time out of this study, right? So therein lies the factor. You may very well, if you're listening to the show, start looking at searching your Google Search Console data with that pattern in regex to be able to see what's actually pulling up, because we're actually seeing more and more questions over time starting to result, especially whenever AI got rolled out here in April. Google's response to this particular report, they're saying the study uses flawed methodology and skewed query set that's not representative of Google search. We consistently direct billions of clicks to websites daily that have not observed significant drops in aggregate web traffic as is being suggested. So what is really funny about the response here, and there's a lot of social chatter about this, and it's cutting to the chase here. Google's saying that it's not dropping traffic to websites. However, is it considering itself a website? Because if it is, yeah, that is fantastic. And they even had a quarterly report where they were sharing revenues up in a number of factors. And on top of that, user experience is up 10%. Yeah, because you're pivoting it back to yourself, Google. So is Google considering its own self as a website in this factor or not? That's the biggest question.
So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, Erin. I'm trying, but I don't.
I'm just saying a flag on the play here because, if you're self-referencing, and I think Lily Ray has been throwing so many pictures of self-referencing links per query, much larger than any other links in either the initial AIO or resultant AIOs, because it was literally Google's self-referencing to different areas and aspects of Google. Yeah, your traffic's going to be up because you're still referring to yourself as a website. Anyway, there's a lot of social chatter there. Track it down. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think one of the criticisms was that the sample size was too low because they said that it was too low to be meaningful because they said that there were only 66,000 search queries.
Yeah.
And they said that was only, a 0.0000134% of the sample size of 500 billion queries a month. But researchers can, we don't have access to all of Google's stuff and they don't share everything. So, I think that's a reasonable amount of queries. Personally, I think that some of the data that I found was interesting was that they were saying that younger people, according to the Pew research, they said that younger people were less likely to click than older people. So they were saying that the different groups of people were spread in different ways. So rather than that they clicked differently. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I think that the research has arisen because people are seeing that decoupling, which a few people have reported on. I know Ahrefs reported on it, and I've seen it on websites as well, where the impressions are going up loads, but the clicks are either, declining or stagnating. And it is for people who've built a whole search-based infrastructure and funnel, it's worrisome. And I think that, Google, it seems to be trying lots of different things. So that SERP layout that we were talking about, might be one solution. And I think that we just need more data on it. And I think that, the best thing that Google could do, or one thing at least that Google could potentially do is give us more data on AI overviews directly in Google Search Console. I know a lot of people have been requesting that, and as a search marketer, it would certainly be really, really useful data, because I think that even if you aren't able to see a huge click-through rate, you could at least show green shoots, and you could at least show a trend line of going up on the AI overviews. And I think that, it's like, if you think about Google Discover, and I know there's some volatility in the AI overviews and what they surface, but that's the same with Discover. Discover is quite volatile. So sometimes you're in it, sometimes you're not, sometimes you're in it, sometimes you're not. Okay, but people will recognize that there's a certain amount of traffic that's Google Discover, there's a certain amount that's your core SERP, there's a certain amount that's your shopping, and we could be able to split those things out and set the expectations. So then you'd be like, well, for AI overviews, we should expect a 0.05% click-through rate. For classic SERPs, we should expect a 3% click-through rate, or whatever it is. But I think that the best, not necessarily, but one way that they could address this is to give search marketers a bit more visibility on
just
AI overviews directly.
So, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's there. Google just shares the information. If you want us to be believers as marketers in the AIO, right, that we're not going to just be running around with our hair on fire because we're losing click traffic, then show us our visibility in there. And the third-party tools are getting better and better, be able to start shoring up at least initial queries that are actually referencing either a citation or a mention. But the sheer fact Google could win over so many marketers if they start exposing that and say, hey, you have so many mention references here, so many citations here. Just give us the visibility. What's the harm there? The harm is, honestly, is that they're not going to be showing click data. They're not going to be showing any successful click data in that channel. So they got to keep that away from us, or it just codifies the entire point, right?
It's a real challenge, and I think we've got a lot of time that we've got to like just go through this phase of search because I think like I said, I think we're in a beta phase. I don't think that the search that we have now, like the search results page that
Yeah.
we have now, is what we will have at the end of the year.
Oh,
So I
absolutely
think
not.
we'll see how we go.
Yep. Hey, I wanted to finish up here. I'm going to jump past this other article and go over to the article that you provided to us because I wanted to tee this up and get Jacob's perspective on this as well. Over at The Verge, we have got an article here from Hayden Field. OpenAI's new Chat GPT agent can control an entire computer and do tasks for you. One employee in particular uses it to automate his weekly parking requests at the OpenAI's San Francisco office. So they've gone all in on this particular very hyped trend in AI agents or tools that go a step beyond chatbots and to be able to complete complex multi-step tasks on the user's behalf. The company on Thursday debuted Chat GPT Agent, which bills itself as a tool that can complete work on your behalf using its own virtual computer. So here's the deal. This is a instance on your computer that's not just a browser. It actually interacts with your browser, interacts with any tools that you've got on your computer to be able to complete tasks. Pretty cool, right? And there's a lot of scripting and prompting that can very well go into this and be able to be your own personal assistant. I'm a bit gun shy of any actual platform engaging in my tools with carte blanche interactivity here, but that's just me. I'm a grumpy old guy. In a briefing and a demo with The Verge, Yash Kumar and Isa Fulford, the product lead and research lead over at ChatGPT, said it's powered by a new model that OpenAI developed specifically for the product. The company said the new tool can perform tasks like looking at a user's calendar to brief them on upcoming client meetings, planning and purchasing ingredients to make a family breakfast, and creating a slide deck based on its analysis of competing companies. All right, I'm going to toss this up. Crystal, this was your article here. Give us your take on the Chat GPT agent. What are your thoughts?
So yeah, I think this is really, really, really interesting. I think that to your point, they've said that before the ChatGPT agent can do anything, irreversible is the word that they called, like sending an
Right.
email, it asks for permission. So that's what it says. But I think that this is very, very interesting in terms of the way that these tools are going. I think that people at the moment, I'm using like one agent to do one thing, I'm using one other thing to do another thing, and I have Gemini to sort of help with documents and stuff, and that's integrated with Workspace, so
Right.
that's useful. And I have it where I've had it say like, oh, can you schedule out my day into blocks? And it'll go, yeah, from this time you should do this, and from that time you can do that, and from this time you can do that, and then it will just add it to the calendar. So I think that something like this, that the dream of it is very, very interesting. The reality of it is a big challenge from the kind of access that a tool like this would have to your computer. Like, do you know what I
Right.
mean? And everything that's on your computer. So I'd be interested to know the security challenges that they're getting into with this. From a marketing perspective, from a search marketing perspective, I think that this is interesting in that, as we go forward as search marketers, the integrations that we have with these tools will need to be, streamlined. The frictionlessness of our products and our services will really need to be valuable, and we'll need to make sure that we are, compatible with these things. So previously we had to make sure that the web content that on a website was readable by a bot and readable by, say, Googlebot, etc. Now we need to make sure that any of the data on a website, and even like booking details, or or like phone call details, for instance,
Right.
are accessible by some of these agents. Because I think ChatGPT has something like 78% of AI market share as of June, and they lead the charge in terms of innovation. So a lot of the other ones will follow. And so if this works well, then we're probably going to see more of this. But I think that as web marketers, we need to make sure that everything's, accessible for these tools, and also that we are able to make sure that it's clear to these agents and to the end user that, we are servicing their need. So I think that, this will mean I think this will mean less of the content farms that are like, where you'd have a client, and back in the day, this worked. It was a valuable SEO skill, or a valuable SEO strategy, where you have a client who's like, I don't know, a rental car business,
Right.
And the blog that you would write would be, road trips in Indiana. You don't sell road trips, you rent cars. Like that's the thing you do. But I
Right.
think that nowadays in this agentic space, people will need more of the bottom of the funnel thing. Like which car where can I rent a car for a family of 4 to do a road trip in Indiana? Like where can I
Right.
rent a car that has wheelchair access in Ohio? Where can I,
And
you know what I mean?
base
And like,
absolutely. Well, based on your the uniqueness of these agents to actually remember, that's what you were talking about, lactose tolerance, right? And having that as your personal concierge, then it can start really making decisions on your behalf with what you've given to it to be able to
yeah.
find a much better solution that you don't have to waste the time to actually go through yourself, right?
Right. But I think one of the challenges for content marketers and for people who are managing content on the web,
Yeah.
and for content for clients, is to make sure that that stuff is actually on the website and that that
Right.
stuff is actually present for the brand, and that, those deep, really, really long tail questions aren't on Reddit somewhere where somebody
Mm-hmm.
said, "Hey, I have a family and and somebody is a wheelchair user. Where's a good place where I can rent a car for somebody for my family?" So that you don't have to go to Reddit to find that information. So it's on your website so that people know and that you have that kind of information. And previously creating that kind of content took a lot of resources. But
Mm-hmm.
with AI, you can reduce the lift on creating those kinds of resources. And I think that with agents that are this specialized and have this much detail on what users want and exactly who they are, those things will be more beneficial in order to
Absolutely.
acquire customers, etc.
I see the synergy that you're trying to map out there is that we have to go deep, we have to go nuanced, we have to learn all the idiosyncrasies of our clients, of our prospects, and the respective service that you have that can meet somebody's personal concierge. Keep on using that term, but I really do think that the agent is that memory laden factor that's going to come more and more for the common user to be able to interact and say, hey, I don't need to search all this. You've got my back on this, and go find that information. If your site doesn't match those type of queries, it's not going to skip past you, but it very well could lean into you if you're actually offering more and more of that information. I'm going to pivot over to Jacob here because he just rolled with the agent itself. We're talking about accessibility. You actually dropped by my office today talking about that. So give me your personal experience of what you were doing.
So yeah, first off, I'll say that ChatGPT announced this on the 17th, and we're recording this on the 25th. I just got access this morning.
Got it.
It's been the longest 8 days ever. Because they said, "Oh, we'll roll it out within a couple days," and it took longer. But
Okay.
so I've not done nearly as much as I would like to with ChatGPT agent yet. But I've used other agents before, and one that I really like is called Manus. It's similar things. And one point, real quick, I think you were talking about it taking over your computer. As far as I know Manus does not. I don't think ChatGPT agent will either. It runs its own browser, and then you can connect it with other tools. So when it looks at your Google Calendar, it's because you gave it permission to your Google Calendar, not because it's clicking through your own browser tabs.
Right.
So as far as security there, just be aware of what you're giving it access to. But giving it access to your Google Calendar doesn't mean it can look at your other open tabs.
Okay.
That said, with Manus as an experiment, I said, I know where my wife wants to go for her birthday, so go make me reservations. I can do this. It would probably take me 5 minutes or so. It took Manus about 20, which I didn't have to watch, but I wanted to watch. I was curious, right? I could have said, go do this, and then I could have gotten onto something else, and it would have been less than 5 minutes of my own effort. It intervened and pinged me and said, hey, I'm unable to click the date that you're asking for. I've found the page. Here's the calendar. I can't click it. And I'm curious if that accessibility has anything to do with accessibility for other people,
Right. ADA.
humans,
Yeah, absolutely.
that have accessibility issues. So that'll be interesting to see how sites change to allow that accessibility to AI agents. Like maybe pages will finally do something about it. We'll see. So, but it told me, hey, I can't do it. So I went in, I clicked the date for it, and then I said, go ahead and continue, and then it took back over. And then it did all the work for me, and then it even found some things that I had gotten wrong and fixed that. And then it was ready to submit. It said, okay, the form's filled out. You can click submit, or I can do it for you. And I glanced at it, and the one thing I saw is it said, there's a field that said, are you celebrating anything special? Well, I hadn't told the agent that I was.
Got it.
So I jumped in again and filled that out. But I didn't know that was going to be an option for me. Really cool. It worked really well. And like I said, if I hadn't been standing there staring at it and watching how it was working, I would have been impressed because it would have been, hey, I need a reservation for this night at this restaurant.
Right.
And then 20 minutes later be like, okay, we're done. And that's cool.
Go send it on its merry way and come back. Yeah.
Yep.
Have you used an agent yet, Crystal?
Yeah.
Outside of
So
Gemini.
I think
Outside of Gemini.
Yeah, so I use Perplexity Spaces, which
Mhm.
is fairly agentic. I don't know, I had a thing where like I was flying JetBlue, but I don't have a loyalty scheme with JetBlue. And I was like, yo, I have Avios. How do I get my Avios if I'm flying JetBlue? And it goes to head for points and it goes to all these da 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 da, like all these different websites. And it was like, okay, you sign up for Qatar Airlines. And then and then you can get your points with the thing or whatever. And so like it did, and that saved me a good like hour or something of trawling around the web trying to figure out like which
Yeah.
here, there, and the other way. I mean, for like, it doing things for me, probably Gemini is the one that I use the most. But I've also had it before, where I've had it like I think I had some insurance documents, and you drop the
Mhm.
insurance documents in and you're like, does this cover dental? And they're like, yes, it does, but only your incisors, or like that, like whatever. And so, I think they all tend to work in a similar way. I use Notebook LM a lot, but I think that the dream is to have one thing that just does the job, where you don't have to wait the 20 minutes and it just does the job. And I think if I think about a year ago trying to set up some of the workflows that are just built in now, like a year
Right.
ago, I was like, oh, we can set up this thing and we can feed it the data and then it'll make a blog and then it'll do this and da 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 and it'll do all of that stuff. And now they're all just built in. Like they've gotten so much better in that type of workflow. So I think, hopefully it'll just do the job. It's like I've got a robot vacuum cleaner and I love that thing. Like I just just press the little button. She does her little thing. I call her Lulu. She's like an off-brand Rumba, and it's like Lululemon or something like that.
Right.
And I
Right.
just call her
Yep.
Lulu. I love Lulu because I set her to do her task. She just goes. She does it. And it's done. And I
And
can
that's the whole
trust
point. That's the
I can
goal right
trust
there, right?
that's what you want. You
That's
set
what you
it
want.
and then it's done. Like you give it the job and then it's done. You press the go on your dishwasher and then you have clean dishes. These are the things that you want, and that's what you want out of the AI. So at the moment it's still a little clunky, but I think that because people are spending more time with some of these tools, like, I call Perplexity Plexi, like I call it like, and I call ChatGPT chatters, like, and I think that I've had it help me with a couple of things that like I could not have done myself. Like I really could not have done myself. And it
Mhm.
did a lot of the heavy lifting for me. And I think as you get there, people talk about how like, oh, well, you don't trust AI. Like, oh, you can't trust AI. But like there's some stuff where it helped me with like significantly.
Mhm.
And so then you start to like, which things you can trust it with, which things you can't trust it with. Like Lulu, my vacuum cleaner. I know she's fine with most things, but I gotta put the cables away because she can't cope with the
Right.
cables. So
Exactly.
that's fine. I know that. I know what her boundaries are. Similarly with AI, you have a same kind of thing. I know which ones like they're good at and which things they're not good at. And I think that as people get more agentic, they will trust the AI more because they've
Mhm.
seen it. It's proven to be trustworthy in certain capacities. Not in every capacity, but like in certain capacities, like I don't know, like whatever it is you're using it most regularly for, you'll go, okay, it's good at
Right.
this, it's not good at that. And so I think that will change. That's a shift. Like if you think about Google, like classic Google, it was essentially a directory. You'd put in something, robot vacuum cleaners, and it would give you lots of websites about robot vacuum cleaners. And you
Right.
would trust it to do that, but you didn't necessarily trust it to recommend you a robot vacuum cleaner. Whereas, like, if ChatGPT knows you and you know it to give you good recommendations, and it becomes the place that gives you the recommendations. And if you ask it for a robot vacuum cleaner, it'll go, okay, well, you've got a dog, so you need one that's like this. And you need, and we just got a carpet laid for you because I remember you asked me what the dimensions were, like what the area was for your living room because you don't know how to
Right.
do math or whatever. And it will bring those things in. So I think that as that goes forward, that means that like, yeah, we need to make sure that websites are well aligned with these tools that users trust, particularly when they're agentic.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that there is a factor that's among all of us, this conversation, the ownership of the user. They've got to be plugged in there and give it the insight and the goals and the additional scrutiny, right? My concern is that agentic AI is going to be used by a lot of people that are lazy, and they'll allow it to go do something, and you get a lot of potential errors that are going to be happening there, and it's going to have a lot of wasted time, or even worse, errors that could very well represent web content, represent brands with an error in it because it's not actually pointed correctly, it's not prompted correctly, and the like. So the user in this model has to take ownership and responsibility. Otherwise, we've just got automatons that are not dialed into the nuances that you're really trying to achieve there. Any final thoughts of Agentic AI as we kind of finish up the podcast? Jacob?
I'll let you know if the reservations were there when we get to the restaurant in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. What do you think, Crystal?
Does your wife know that you're leaving that to chance? That you're like, the robot did it.
I think I got an email with a confirmation, but she does know that I used an agent to do it, so we'll see what happens.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
You always have somebody to blame, though, if you keep on using it.
Right.
I swear. I remembered it. The ChatGPT agent didn't. Right?
I put in 30 seconds worth of work, so this is not my fault.
That's commitment right there.
That's how much your birthday dinner means to me.
Very
Love
cool.
you, honey.
We're going to have to point this one out to her.
Yeah.
Final thoughts for our listeners that are looking at SEO and AI and confused, challenged, overwhelmed with what we're looking at right now. Give us a word of wisdom, Crystal, before you go off on vacation for a month.
I think don't panic. To quote another robot source, always carry a towel. That's
there it is.
And I think that, test, iterate, Jake's testing that out, test, iterate. And I think also get your data in order is always a good way to go. If you have good data sources, if your data is clean, if you know your customers and your customer data is solid, then you should be able to adapt to any of these tools. Because if you think about MCP, if you think about Agentic AI, if you think about creating, deep, meaningful content at scale, then, you're gonna need a good source of data. So I think that folks who are managing their data well and who are owning their data well and are connecting with their customers to get more data directly are going to be well prepared for this phase of search. But I think that should not be overlooked. People asking you direct questions in your webinars, in your customer service, in your forums, et cetera, like use those. Google's using them. That's why they tapped into Reddit. That's why they're all tapped into Reddit. So, make sure that you're tapping into your data sources, historic, current, all of them.
Amen. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you for joining us. We really always appreciate syncing up with you. Hopefully, we'll see you on the road again in a conference in the near future, maybe Brighton SEO. We might cross paths again.
Yes.
We appreciate everything that you do over at Wix. Thanks so much for jumping in and being part of the AI SEO discussions here over the Edge.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a great time on vacation, and we will connect with you later, okay?
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. All right. Hey, that's the end of this show for Edge News this week. Check out our recent interviews with Bruce Clay and Barry Adams. That should be out by the time this airs. Also, check out Greg Gifford as we talked about local SEO. And he really did just trash all of these reports and surveys that were going on here recently. So check that show out. We had a great time. Hey, we'd love a review. Go over to ratethispodcast.com/edge. Give us a review. Let us know how we're doing on the show. We've been cranking this out for 14 years now. We'd love to hear from you and let us know where we should go next. From all of us over the Edge, stay safe, stay well, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.